I'll entertain the motion to open the meeting to the public. An opportunity is given to the public for commentary. Comments are limited to one comment, no more than 5 minutes.
So make a
I'll
motion to move, open up to the
Second.
public.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, Ron, we're open to the public.
Mayor, we have Hugh Giordano.
Yes. Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So my name is Hugh Giordano. I live in Blackwood, New Jersey. But tonight I'm coming to you as a representative of the United Food and Commercial Workers, UFCW Local 152. And I'm wanted to speak in reference to your ordinance that you're going to be introducing tonight, 5-2021, in regards to the zoning of cannabis and the prohibition. I wanted to speak in regards to the jobs that will be lost in that. New Jersey is one of the states that made sure that they protected the workforce here in New Jersey and the residents of New Jersey. And they put strong labor standards within those rules and regulations. And one of those will be union protection, union wages. The UFCW is the official labor union, which represents cannabis workers, both medical and adult use. And we currently represent workers already in New Jersey. And I would ask that before you move forward with this, that you table it until you actually tour a facility. I'd like to offer you a tour of the Garden State Dispensary, which was the first dispensary in New Jersey to unionize, of the original medical. So they have a long-standing relationship with that local, those towns and cities as well. I also just want you to know that these are good jobs as far as their wages and benefits. They get dental, vision, retirement, and this creates a strong economy because if they have more money, if the workforce in your town has more money, then they can spend it. Also, these are trained professionals. A lot of the younger people have degrees in horticulture, chemistry, and other sciences. This is not just growing tomatoes. This is a science, especially with the extraction. So you can get a lot of young, talented, educated people to come into your area. I've also seen that in the census that your population has went down. And this is a good way to attract a new tax base of working educated people. This also creates opportunities for the town because you can tax it. And our unionized employers are always willing to help invest in community events and associations. I think it's great that you have a community that cares and get your youth involved in these activities, especially the Scouts. My mom was involved with my sisters, so cookie time was crazy at my house. I totally get it. And on top of that, if you don't allow adult use, allow medical at least. Allow medical, at least that's more of a science-based. The population that uses medical is older and it controls who comes into town. And you can control what is dispensed as far as flour, edibles, vaporizers, but that is for medical reasons only. So if I would say is that you table it, consider these things and create good jobs, and let's see what we can do to make it even a better place to live. Oh, and shout out to the councilman for thanking the workers for giving him his injection. That's very cool.
Thank you. Next up, Ron. Ron, you're muted.
Bunch. Here we go. I'm trying to unmute him. Hold on. I can't pronounce his name. It's one big acronym. Hold on. Hold on. There we go. Yeah, there you go.
Hi, Mayor Francis, council members. My name is Sanjay Chaudhry. Sorry, I should have put a space in there. I think I messed up when entering my name. Like Mr. Giordano, Hugh that just spoke, I also was in opposition to a ban on cannabis in Hopatcong and in every town in New Jersey. You know, the voters, it was put to a voter initiative in November, and voters resoundingly voted almost 2-1 in most towns, and I believe in Hopatcong as well. People want this in their towns. People want to access this. I myself have been a medical patient for a number of years in town, and I sold my home in Hopatcong last year. I live in Randolph currently. But I'm still in a neighboring town, and it's difficult with the access right now. Even from Randolph, the closest dispensary is over an hour and a half from me here, and there's nothing in Morris County. There's nothing really remotely close, so it would be good for a lot of patients that need it to have medicine that's more accessible. And something that's odd that people aren't really considering is that this ban is creating sort of a neo-segregation that's not exactly just racially motivated, but it's a social segregation. So people that are more progressive and may want to use cannabis and maybe have been using cannabis illegally for years or decades, you know, now may have to move to a different town or a different location if they want to participate in a cannabis business. I've been a Rutgers certified master gardener. I've been a member of the Speakers Bureau, and I have a sustainable startup soil company, Sweet Virginia Soil LLC, that I'm hoping to get a cultivation facility with. Randolph right now is also not certain if they want to have cannabis in town or not. So I've been speaking to some adjacent towns because I may need to relocate to be able to start a business that I want to start. And it's unfortunate that I may need to leave my conservative Republican town to have to go to a more progressive town to be able to cultivate cannabis. I understand that, you know, we all have political differences, but I think what's important is that we let people in our towns have differences. It's good to have diversity of color and diversity of thought in towns, even if it's not the predominant way everyone thinks. I think that's, you know, the beauty of America. And then, you know, voters did want it. I didn't check specifically on Hopatcong, but most towns more than 2-1 they want cannabis in town. You know, there's a lot of medical benefits. There's a lot of social benefits. As a society, we're very wound up. You know, even just yesterday, there was a shooting in Atlanta. There's a lot of people that are on edge, that are wound up. And I can guarantee you that these people that go into places and shoot people, they don't smoke marijuana. They don't smoke cannabis. You know, they're pretty wound up. They take like a very hardline approach. And there's something in this medicine that can help people love each other, love your neighbor, love your community. And, you know, I think there's just been a lot of misinformation about cannabis for so many years that I hope you guys will take pause, visit some of the cultivation facilities like Hugh had mentioned, and just be a little bit more open-minded to it. Even if you personally don't use it and never plan on using it, a lot of your constituents do, and they will want to do it. And recently, Patterson, I think in November, a cultivation facility, they started collecting tax revenue. They're 2% from a medical facility in Patterson. They were expecting about $10,000 per month from that cultivation facility. For November and December, they got $50,000 for those 2 months. So it's about $15,000 extra per month, or 150% more than what they were expecting. So besides just the social need for it, there will be a tax benefit for it. For a lot of the micro businesses, there is a residency requirement. So to encourage local employment, 51% of the micro grows, dispensaries, all the small businesses need to be based in town or in an adjacent town. So it will be beneficial for the local economy. For the micro grow that I'm planning on doing, there will be several growers, but then there will also be 5 or 6 trimmers that will just be trimming cannabis flowers, and they'll be pretty well paid, at least $15 an hour. You know, so it will create local jobs, local revenue for the town, and you know, I think it's going to be beneficial for a lot of economies. In Colorado, where they similarly had a 5-year decision-making period, where once they made a decision, they weren't able to switch. A lot of towns that initially said, no, we don't want it in our backyard, 5 years later were kicking themselves when they saw how beneficial it was for so many other communities.
Thank you.
How much they're able to do
Your 5 minutes is up.
with the revenue. Okay, thank you, Mayor Francis. I appreciate the time.
No problem. Thank you. Ron, next. You're muted, Ron.
H. Here we go.
Hi, Heather Fiore, 313 Windsor Avenue. I have two different items. First is the legalization of marijuana. I particularly have never done it, nor do I want to, but I want to understand why we would ban it. To begin with, if somebody's going to do it and they choose to do it, they're going to go elsewhere and just bring it here. So what would be the benefit of not allowing it here and just sending them to somewhere else rather than having it here available, since it's going to be legal anyway? The only thing we can do is benefit from the tax dollars on it. There's no harm in doing it because people are going to get it from somewhere else and just bring it here.
Excuse me, ma'am, could you state your name again? You were cut off in the beginning.
Heather Fiore.
Oh, Heather, okay. Thank you.
Second thing is, I'm trying to understand the rationale behind the summer camp. 2 hours, 2 days a week isn't really beneficial to any parent. Myself being a parent of a 5-year-old, that's not really beneficial, but I don't understand why we can't have them in camp longer. I understand that there's COVID restrictions, but we're still able to do 4 hours a day of school, even 4 hours a day, 5 days a week. It's possible. You can go into a gym, you can go into a restaurant. There's ways that you can set it up. Has anybody given any thought to at least doing a half day? Even if you can't do a full day because you can't figure out lunch, there are different creative ways that you can get it where it can help the parents, because that's the biggest struggle. And now we have to figure out, not only do we have to figure out school, we now need to figure out the one thing that we were depending on, which was summer camp. And at least, I mean, I'm a working parent. At least 4 hours a day is better than nothing, but 2 hours, 2 days a week isn't going to help anybody. It's going to give the kids something to do for 2 hours, 2 days a week, but it's not helping the parents, which is what summer camp ideally did, was help working parents, which is a majority of the parents here. That's it.
Thank you.
Okay, Fran, you're up.
Hi, everybody. My name is Frances Filardi. How are you? About the cannabis, I am for it. I voted for it. I don't smoke it, never have, but it's like was mentioned before, they're going to bring it here anyway, so we might as well make money off of it. We might as well keep the revenue here. We might as well have it in one of these empty storefronts, and maybe that will be the birth of other businesses coming, being attracted to Hopatcong. It could help everyone in the long run. I haven't heard one excuse yet as to why it shouldn't be in Hopatcong. The only comment I saw somewhere online was weed hurts the brain, but so does wood smoke. But that's another story for another day. But, I think we should keep it here. I think we should seriously consider it. It'll attract revenue. We could tax it. It's going to come regardless. I mean, it's here already. It's just don't table it. Don't get rid of it. Let it come. Let it do its thing. I mean, most of my comments are already covered in the other by comments by the other people, and I'm sure it's going to be regulated to a point where the kid just can't. If it's a concern with the kids, they're not just going to walk in and, can I get $5 worth? I mean, I don't think it's that. I haven't read the whole statute. It's going to be, I know it's going to be regulated just like alcohol is. And unless there's an excuse or a reason I don't see, I think we should have it. I think, I don't plan on leaving Hopatcong. I've been here 20 years. I like it here. I don't know what else. I'm for it. Just bring it. And I don't think it's going to be a problem. It's not going to be a problem where our cops can't handle. We have a good bunch of guys and girls working here. I'm sure they can keep things under control. I don't think it's going to be an issue or problem or anything else. And like Sunday, I'm sorry if I, Chandre, sorry, who lives in Randolph, he said he finds it difficult to find it and stuff. you know, make it accessible. We have people with medical conditions that need it. They're gonna get it anyway. We might as well make the money off of it. That's just my 2 cents. I hope I make sense. And that's it. That's all I have.
Thank you. Next up, Ron. Shit.
We got
Hello.
Mayor Mode.
Hi. I just wanted to send congratulations to the Scouts, and I wanted to thank Councilman Young for acknowledging all of us that volunteer at the Sussex County Fairgrounds. And it's an example of what we can accomplish when we all work together. That's the end of my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right. Let's see here.
Next up, Ron.
I'd ask everyone again, if you want to make a comment or come in, go to the reactions button at the bottom right and click it and raise a hand and I'll acknowledge. Okay, here we go. Steve McCallum.
Steve McMahon,
Oh, McMahon, there you go. All right.
9 Holiday Drive. Come June, I will be a 33-year resident of Hopatcong. I love this town. I would never do anything to hurt this town. I'm always been in for the best interests. As many of you know, I have been active in the Hopatcong Hawks Soccer Club for, at this point, close to 20 years. My opinion about this measure regarding marijuana is that the voters have voted to legalize it. And it's just like a liquor store in my mind. We should treat it, license it, and tax it to get revenue for the town. And I hope you consider, tabling this motion. I think it's in the best interest of the town and the public, because the public has spoken through the polls already. Thank you, Council.
Next up, Ron.
Okay, let's start up here. Dave Philman, you're up. Hey, Dave, hit your mute button, please.
Thank you.
There you go.
There you go. Hi, Dave Feldman, Cove Road, Hopatcong. I too believe that we should accept the marijuana bill that has been brought into law and take advantage of the taxes that's going to come to our town. Medically, it certainly helps a lot of people, and there is absolutely no reason that we should stop this. So please don't, and let's move along with the marijuana companies coming into town, providing jobs and providing businesses. Thank you.
Okay, Mayor, you there?
Yep.
All right, we have June Seal.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right. This technology is always wonderful. I've been listening to all the comments and I hadn't planned to speak, so I don't have anything prepared. But I've been a member of the Municipal Alliance Against Drugs and Alcohol.
Excuse me, can you say your name for us so we know who you are? I'm sorry.
June Seal.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So I've been on the Alliance Against Drugs and Alcohol for many years and come at this from a different perspective about the actual use of marijuana. And yes, the residents of our state have legalized it, and that's our democratic society. But it doesn't mean we have to bring it into our town. The first two gentlemen didn't even live in town, and they want to comment on our own town's ability to have the marijuana stores and things like that inside. If you talk to some of the officers about this new law, and I'm sure most of you have seen it, the police officers' hands are tied right now based on the way the law was made. There's problems with even telling the parents of minors that they were kind of caught using it. We don't have any way to do any kind of testing, like at least if there's somebody driving inebriated on alcohol, they can do a breathalyzer. So yes, the law was passed, but unfortunately, a lot of things to protect citizens were not. So in general, my knee-jerk reaction should be that we do need to prohibit the sale and the distribution and the stores and everything else in our small town. We don't need to bring in that kind of trouble. I'm not sure what the tax revenue would be. I can't speak to that. I don't know the dynamics of the law, the tax laws on it. And as far as the medical marijuana, I can't get onto the agenda, but I thought there were two separate ordinances, and that this would just be prohibiting the sale, distribution, growing, that type of thing. And then the second one was that you wouldn't prohibit the medical marijuana, because we all realize that there are people with real medical conditions that benefit. So that's kind of where I'm at, seeing the damage that various, drugs and alcohol and gateways and things like that. That's my perspective. I think we need to restrict it in Hopatcong. So thank you.
Thank you, June. Next up, Ron.
The name on the screen is Sam Morris. You're up.
Hey, good evening. My name's Sam Morris. I'm the mayor of Mine Hill. My address is 10 Baker Street, Mine Hill. I've just been going to different Zoom meetings, different councils, and just we're trying to get some feedback of what folks are, what other towns are doing and what they're thinking. You guys introducing tonight, I was curious if you were debating or had thought about holding off until the modification, as June had mentioned, they're talking about maybe modifying the notification on the minors. My experience with Trenton is they never give something back unless they get something for it. So I'm wondering if they're going to alter the bill in another way. And I was wondering if you guys had thought about that, because we're thinking about holding off until like the dust settles a little bit. I know we have 180 days, and I just didn't know if you guys had debated that and was curious your thoughts on it. The other thing was I heard some of the comments about, financial impact. Oh, we're going to get these taxes and we're going to get all this money. Have you guys done any study on that? We haven't. And we've done some cursory looks at what we would possibly get, but it's not overwhelming revenue. We're a small town, so it's, it wouldn't be anyway, maybe in a Randolph or a Hopatcong or a Morristown or a Parsippany or something would see bigger numbers. But was just wondering if you guys had done a financial impact, and if you also had maybe considered waiting for the dust to settle, because I'm just trying to get a pulse of what other towns are doing. And I appreciate the chance to speak.
Thank you. Next up, Ron.
Matt, you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, you're up.
Hi, my name is Matt Oliva. I'm a resident in this town. I'm also a business owner in this town. To speak to the marijuana part of it, for the revenue, it would definitely be a help for the town. To the mayor that just spoke, doing research, working with other businesses, especially nationally, that process marijuana, that start these businesses, to the gentleman that spoke earlier, that have growers, people that are clipping the marijuana as well. It would create a lot of jobs. If we have alcohol in this town, I don't see much of a difference. Kids can get alcohol, kids can get marijuana. To me, it's pretty much the same. I think we'd be hurting ourselves if we don't lean into it and find a safe way to distribute it. I understand for the safety of children. I grew up in the DARE program. For me, it didn't do much. I saw more of the negativity of the war on drugs, and I saw a lot of people that I know and their lives got ruined for getting arrested for experimenting with something no much more different than alcohol, but just getting caught for it. I think it's great that these days people have spoken and have voted differently to work for it and find a better way to do it. The same way as alcohol. So if, in my opinion, again, as a business owner and people, a person that's worked with other businesses, ones locally that are looking to adapt and find towns to grow into and hire and bring people on. There's plenty of money in it. There's plenty of benefit. Doing it safely, I agree. That's my 2 cents. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next
Okay,
up,
we
Ron.
have one more here. I think this was the one that's been on before, but let me put them on real quick. And hi, you're on.
Hi, sorry, thank you for an additional minute. I just wanted to say one thing that I didn't say before, that I don't know if the council members, the mayors that have spoken here know, but if in the town, if you guys, let's say you were to ban cannabis, marijuana in town, the delivery people will still be able to deliver into your town. So let's say Matt has a delivery business based in Mine Hill or something. He can deliver to Hopatcong, but you will not be able to benefit from any of the tax revenue of that. So everyone in your town will still be able to get marijuana, cannabis from delivery services, but if you ban it in your town, then all you're really doing is not allowing a storefront or a cultivation in town, but people will still have a legal right to have it delivered to their homes. I just wanted to put in that one comment. I didn't want to infringe on the time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you again, everyone. I appreciate the time.
Yeah, Ron.
Got
Go
it.
ahead, Ron.
Mayor, I'm strolling. I don't see any other hands.
Okay.
Give it a minute if you want. That's up to you, Mayor. I don't see anybody.
Entertain the motion and bring it back.
I'll make
I'll
that
make that
motion.
motion. I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay.
Well, as promised, I will try to respond. First of all, if anybody listened to me last week, the reason for this is because we have a very short window to respond to this, negatively or positively. If we don't do anything now, when that window closes in August, we can't do anything for 5 years. This has to be the worst written piece of legislation in the history of New Jersey. That being said, this ordinance will give us a chance to catch our breath with this, if you will. Let's see how this is working. I can't get straight answers from Trenton to save my life. And if you think they're going to be timely in legislative process, you're mistaken. And so if this goes south and doesn't work like everybody says it will, we're stuck for 5 years, and anything that happens cannot be undone. The reason we have this ordinance proposed is so that we can really do analysis. We can really look at, see what's going on. And I just don't think it's wise to be forced into a hasty compliance with legislation that was not well thought out. I understand the benefits. I support medical marijuana, but I can't get a straight answer from the state on whether we can separate the two. Because right now, medical marijuana facilities can sell recreational marijuana. So I don't know that you can separate them, and I can't get a straight answer. So unless we get straight answers, and this is for you too, Sam, we have to represent our town as the very best we can, and protect, and particularly protect our children. This legislation that was passed by Trenton has really disregarded our parents and our children totally. Though that's not saying everything bad is going to happen, but if things go a little wacky, our police cannot even tell a parent that they've involved with their child, and if they do, it's a third-degree offense against the police officer. That's serious stuff. I know Senator Rojo, Senator Sweeney, our assembly people, Hal Wirtz, and they've been working to correct this. It's been across the aisle, but it's not done. And so I've never known Trenton to be timely, quite frankly. And so this is we can always change our ordinance. But the point I'm making is, if we don't do anything, and this doesn't work right, this legislation gets even worse than it is. We can't do anything for 5 years, and even at that, everything else that happens is grandfathered, whether we like it or not. So it's not that we're anti anything. It's not like we're eliminating anything. I don't think we have enough knowledge about this legislation, which again was poorly written, to truly represent a decision for our town. I understand the economic, by the way, the 2% tax. I've asked other questions about other charges that we might make as municipalities, and there might not be any. So unless we know, everybody says that tax income, well, you know, the tax is 2%, do the math. And so, yeah, every little bit helps, but I'm not sure what the positive and negative criteria are here for us to make a decision as the governing body that's going to lock us up for 5 years. And
Mayor,
go ahead, John.
Yeah, Mayor, I just wanted to pick up on your comment, and normally you ask me when there's legal matters to respond a bit. So I certainly am not influencing the council on how they vote on this ordinance. That's certainly the council's prerogative. But I think that in some of the comments that were made tonight, there was numerous mentions that the voters in the state had approved the referendum, and that somehow if the council took this action, it was inconsistent with that, or I think there was a small implication that it was somehow undemocratic. But I think everybody should focus on the fact, and the council should certainly be aware, that the legislature was the body that gave the council this decision to make. The legislature specifically gave municipalities the right to make this decision with, frankly, numerous choices. And there's an important rationale there. And the important rationale is that every town is different, and some towns have facilities, demographics, other characteristics that would make some of these facilities more likely. So just as an example, Hopatcong does not have a large industrial park. A lot of the cultivation and growing is indoors, and so Hopatcong does not have a lot of industrial space that might lend itself to indoor cultivation. And so that's something that council might take into account when it thinks about both indoor cultivation and wholesale distribution. Hopatcong just doesn't have these facilities. It doesn't have anywhere to create these facilities. And in our planning and zoning and business development, it's very unlikely that we would have those facilities in the future. Even some outdoor growing facilities, Hopatcong doesn't have a lot of farmland. So that's another thing that might be taken into account. So the council can think about the retail aspect of this, and Hopatcong is generally made up of much smaller storefronts in a very mixed way. And so the council can take that into consideration on the retail side about whether we think we have appropriate retail centers that lend themselves well to this type of business. And when we're talking about the tax revenue might be significant when you talk about a large cultivation or large distribution facility. The tax revenue, when you're talking about a smaller retail establishment, will be very minimal. Council people can make their own estimation of what that might be, but if the council people conclude that the likely result of not taking any action is that perhaps we would have a small retail establishment, you can take that into account when you think about what the tax revenue is. But I'll repeat my first point because I want to emphasize it. The council people should know that this is their decision, and this decision isn't in any way in opposition to the referendum, or it isn't in any way undemocratic. You're simply exercising an option that the state legislature has told you that you have and you should consider. And it's really a consideration on the characteristics of your town and whether some of these uses fit well or not. So that's my my comment again, just emphasizing not trying to influence the council one way or the other, just putting the decision in perspective.
Yeah, thank you, John. Well, I have relatives in Colorado, and you know, last I heard, 60% of the towns in Colorado have the same ordinance or similar ordinances we have. So it's not like once the state passes the legislation, it's a free for all. It's not. Well, I hope it's not. So the real reason that I wanted to introduce this, and first of all, I think it's the right thing to do under the circumstances, and it gives us a chance, like I said, to make an intelligent decision and make some observations. And yeah, I'd like to go see some of these things, you know, that Mr. Giordano mentioned. I like knowledge. I like to see how everything works, but most of all, I want to make sure that we protect our town from any catastrophe that could or might happen because of this legislation. I tell you, when you have to read the whole 300 pages of this nonsense and see that it's just not planned. It's just inconsistent in many fields. And quite frankly, I don't think we're ready to support that kind of legislation for our town. So I hope I made people understand what we're going to do and why we're going to do it. It's not anti-anything. This is not prohibition. This is an ordinance that gives our town the opportunity to take our time. And if we decide to come back later, we can change the ordinance. There's nothing that I read in the entire 300 page of legislation that says we can't change it. Now, I don't know if anybody thinks that's true, but I've been told by the governor's office that if we wanted to change it, we could. And so that being said, I hope I help people understand what we're trying to do and what we're trying to accomplish here for our municipality. So thank you for your comments. They were interesting, to say the least. I took my notes and names, and maybe I'll contact some of you for further discussions. Okay, so we're back, and now I'll go to approval of minutes.
Mayor, if you would, there was a question or a comment about the summer camp, and I would just like to address that, just so that
Go ahead, John.
it's on the record. Thank you.
ahead.
This decision was made by the Town Recreation Commission. They discussed it quite heavily, what their options were and what they thought they could do. Again, there's a lot of new restrictions regarding a full summer camp like we've had. You know, but again, this decision was made by the Recreation Commission. They did discuss and think about it quite heavily, and this is what they came up with. So thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, John. Thanks. We had approval of minutes.